What's up, and welcome to a very normal episode of First Geek for 11. This is episode 291, and I'm your host, Cameron Franklin. And with me from West Coast, Best Coast, is Emma. How are you doing?
Hi, I am doing good.
Good
That's
to
it.
hear. We are chatting Spaceballs too. Supergirl gets a new name and huge shakeups in the TTRPG world. And then, of course, we'll catch up on what we have been up to. Before we do that, remember you can find us around the internet as OneGeek411. Join our Discord server. Shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can watch live on Twitch. And then you can also catch the live stream on YouTube, as well as find all of our VODs over there. If you're watching on Twitch, you can follow, subscribe, all of those things. And then we also have our live chat. And then if you're watching later on YouTube, we have that chat, as well as you can like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching after the fact. So, Emma,
Hey,
what have you been up to this past week?
I have been up to a couple of things. First and foremost, you're just laughing about this. I got by a mobile game ad, but entirely because it's an official Doctor Who game. It's literally just a resource gathering game, but it's a lot of fun. I was playing on it a little bit earlier. It's just a resource gathering game, but I got by that this week. So that's been my gaming hobby of the week, was playing this Doctor Who mobile game on my phone. It's fun. It's,
Nice.
one of those games where you spend 10 minutes doing a whole bunch of things and then you sit around and wait for a couple of hours until things happen. Which is great. It's fine. That works for me. But you can there's an aspect of collecting characters as well. That's a lot of fun. So that's something I've been doing. I've been continuing to watch The Apothecary Diaries, which is an anime that a friend of mine turned me on to. I'm now in season 2, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a good time. We're running around, saving royal people from being poisoned, which is a good thing. In this case, we like the royal people in this scenario. That's been fun. I went to a friend's birthday on Friday night, and that was a lot of fun. It's a friend from D&D. Oh, I forgot another thing to add on to my list. Speaking of D&D, but yeah, I went to my friend's on Friday for D&D, not D&D, for his birthday party, and on Tuesday, this last Tuesday, in D&D, my character finally found her mom, which is very exciting.
Ooh,
She's
nice.
been looking for her for months and months and months now. And in the process of finding her, we learned that what has so far been an inside joke in our campaign is actually in-world lore, because our DM has been saying a lot the phrase, "for the time being." Turns out the time being is an actual character in universe, who turned my OC's mother super old. So Saphira is like an elf, and the time being aged her mother by 10,000 years. So yeah, that was fun. So lots of fun things happened at D&D this week. Went to a friend's birthday, and then I also on Saturday went out and protested for the rights of people. Yay!
Nice.
Used my rights.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and I had a sign that said President Snow was also a dictator, because I was just watching the Hunger Games books, or movies, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was very peaceful. I went to the one in Studio City, and not downtown, because that would have been very hard to get to. And I went with a coworker and a couple of our friends, and it was a lot of fun. So,
Nice.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
On my end, I have a couple of normal things and then one super hype thing. And so this past weekend, I finally have moved my mead to the next step. So I am now flavoring it. So like the way that it works is you make like the actual mead side of it, then you add whatever you want to do to it afterwards. And so I have begun cherry limeading one of my meads, and then the other one is going to be mixed berry. And nice. I am very excited. I fully anticipate not remotely having the mix correctly of like the exact flavor profile for especially the cherry limeade, but we're going to let the vibes lead us and see how it goes. And then I also started my second cider. And so I'm very excited about that. My first cider came out very well. I gave some to coworkers, and they have finally been able to give me some feedback on what they thought of it. And so that's exciting. I am looking probably in July. I'm probably going to start several more batches of cider because I think I am going to enjoy making that more because it goes a lot quicker. Yeah. And so, whereas like mead can take several months, cider like maybe takes one from my limited experience. And so I'm excited to try different recipes and mix things up and just be able to do more. And so more to come on that. And then with my recent kind of catching up on the random games that I've been playing, I am now back on Ghost of Tsushima after my long hiatus from it for Blueprints, then Expedition 33, then Inscription, and like all of these things got me. So now we're back on that. I'm in Act 3. I think I'm pretty close to the end of the game. And then I'll probably be going for the Platinum in it just because it's not a super complicated Platinum. And I'll have most of the stuff done by the time that I beat it. And so that'll be pretty good. I'm enjoying it so far. It has definitely not clicked with me the same way that I feel like other people enjoyed it. But yeah, that kind of falls into the story spoilers reasons. But yeah, I'll say, generally speaking, the like honorable rule follower that has to break the rules, I just don't think it's necessarily done the best way in this compared to what I have liked in other types of stories like that. Yeah. Then I also had the chance to go over to a friend's place this week, although it was not birthday, it was Switch 2. And so went over, he had grabbed one at release, and so went over to his place, played through all of the Grand Prix, so got to see all of the different courses and stuff like that. Got to help him unlock a bunch of different characters and stuff like that. And so it was very fun. I definitely enjoyed my time with it. Not necessarily enough time to like form a solid opinion in terms of like I'm not like into the nitty gritty of like what cars are best and all of that. I'm a go off of vibes player. And so I enjoyed trying the different carts and the different characters and stuff like that and mixing and matching. And then I don't know if you've heard of this show. It's pretty good. It's called Arcane. I think I'm like the first person to ever watch it.
Wow. I've never heard of this before, nor have I gushed about it with friends at all about it.
Yeah. And so I happen to have discovered this small indie show this week called Arcane. And
fabulous.
Currently like so 2 good. Episodes in. It's a show that like I knew I would like, but just like had missed it when it came out for season 1. And then we don't consistently have Netflix. Like that's like the one streaming service that we don't really pay for. But we wanted to watch The Wild Robot, which was on Netflix. And so we we picked up a gift card, and so we used it to like reactivate the account. Yeah. And so we watched that, and then now have started Arcane. Currently 2 episodes in. Really enjoying it so far. I really liked the League of Legends characters. I used to play a ton of League in college. And so
it does time jump every 3 episodes. In case you didn't know that. Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah.
It's because both seasons are 9 episodes.
Oh, okay.
And every 3 episodes is like however many months or years later. So just as a heads up, that threw me off a little bit. But yeah, if you go in with that like mind frame or whatever, like that heads up, it helps because then you kind of expect it. But it works. They do it well with this show. So
yeah, I was definitely curious about the time frame, just because
Yeah.
obviously it follows Jinx and Vi, and they are obviously very young at the beginning, and so it's the like, yeah, we got a long way to go to get them to the version of the characters that appear in the game.
Yeah.
And so
there's
wondering.
time jumps, and that fixes or like resolves some of that. So
makes sense. And then with that, like, again, as someone who played the game but like has not kept up with it other than like occasionally watching like Worlds or something, it's been really cool to like see these characters again. Of like the character design in League is so good, and I love so many of these characters, and like I'm so excited to see more of like my favorite characters, because none of like my mains have shown up yet, and so I'm very excited because I do know several of them are at least in the show, because I remember seeing stuff posting about like, oh look, Arcane has finally brought in X character, and so I'm excited to get to those.
One of my friends and I joke that my rogue bard that I play is a lot like Jinx. Completely accidentally, because I had made her long before I had ever seen Arcane, and then I sat down to watch it and was like, huh, this character seems a lot like my D&D character.
Yeah. Oh, you got me with the trope. Like,
oh! Well, I'm okay with that.
I'll have more to report as we watch more of it. Like I said, I've really enjoyed the first two episodes. Again, hot take here. The animation's really good.
Wow.
And so I like the way that they've done the fights and stuff so far has been super fun. I'm definitely excited to see them get more into the like over the top stuff.
Yeah.
And so just because like right now, not that everything in the world is grounded, but like right now, a lot of the stuff feels like there is generic magic that does generic magic-y things. And there is this like weird evil scientist potion stuff. And so like, I'm excited to see all of that like ripple into the specific versions of those things that you get in the League of Legends universe. And so excited to see more, excited to get to see how they continue to adapt the characters. And then my last and big thing for this, we did not get the image that we wanted. Pay no attention to the spoilers. I did not put it in the folder. Dang it.
Lame.
And so lame. Oh no, it is there. Why did, oh well, regardless. So this past week, this is what we referenced last week on me having big news, is I went to the Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil book tour for V.E. Schwab's new book. Opening night was in Dallas, and so it was super exciting. And went downtown, got to have dinner with some friends, and then got to go to the book tour. There was a very funny thing of a lot of the primary demographic there being women, and then like being there with Deanna, but me being the one that's excited to be there. Like, she's read Addie LaRue, but like has not gone all in. Whereas like, I'm pretty confident I have 100%ed Schwab's non-children books.
Yeah.
And so that was really fun. And again, it was kind of a funny thing of like,
you were not
people
the
would
usual
be gushing.
demographic.
Yes. Like people would be gushing. And then like, I'm the one like, oh, like, I'm going to hop in this conversation. And so that was very fun. It was very cool to see so many people that were excited for the book. It was like a sold out like theater that we were in.
Nice.
In like one of the performance halls. And so that was really cool. And then our tickets that I had gotten were for row Z. And so I did not have high hopes for our view. But it ended up that row Z or row Y and row Z were along the side of the theater, not the back row. And so instead of being like literally in the back corner like I was expecting, I was on the fifth row and just on the side. And so it was perfect. And then like by sheer happenstance, Schwab sat on the side that faced where we were. Amazing. And so that was really cool also. And the person who, I don't remember, I think it's Whose Books is the name of like the bookstore that was hosting. I could have that wrong, but the person did a great job leading the conversation and the discussion. It was super cool. It was my first time going to something like that for a fiction book and then also for an author that I knew. Like I'd been to a book tour before, but it was for like a religious book, and it was just something that like someone at the church I had worked at had heard about and was like, "Hey Cameron, do you want to go with me?" And I was like, "I will do anything to see anybody." And
you just tag along for the fun of it.
Yeah, it's like the classic extrovert living alone problem of like something is happening, I am in.
Yeah.
And so it was cool. But like going to this one again and like getting to hear Schwab talk about so many of her different books, talk about this one and tease stuff. I have decided though, there is definitely a problem with book tours. And that's like, we're here to hear you talk about your new book, but you cannot tell us spoilers.
Yeah.
Cause like, for us at least, it was like I said, it was literally opening night.
Yeah.
And so like again, some people I'm sure had advanced copies. The person who was leading the discussion, she had said that she had already read the book. And so there's definitely people that have read the book already, but for the general audience, like we got a signed copy for going because like all the first editions are signed. And then let's see if it'll show up on stream. I don't know if it's gonna.
You got to go down.
Yeah, you can't see. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about
for the book
stamps,
tour,
the book imprints. Yeah.
So there's a Schwab had created. There's a picture in our Discord. Schwab had since the whole first edition of the book is signed. Schwab said she wanted to do something special for the tour, and so all of the tour books are embossed with a specific stamp for the tour, and so like that's super cool. And I was very excited as someone who was like, was trying to decide with a tour of like, am I buying the book when it comes out or am I waiting to get my copy? It being on release day was fantastic. And so I anticipate being able to do a review of this book next week because I am currently like 350 or 360 pages in, and it's like just over 500 pages. So I anticipate having it done by next week, and I'm very excited to talk about it. And I'm very excited. I think at some point I need to do my ranking of Schwab's books and do like an actual tier list with the asterisk of not everything can be S tier. Because, I
would be so down to just like participate in the sense of like asking questions and like not knowing what's going on, but like contributing somehow.
Yeah, I'd definitely be up for us just like doing it as like a topic of the show. Maybe we can do that next week. We'll see.
I could be like, I've read 3 of these books, or actually it's like 2. These are my thoughts on the 2 that I've read.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can look at that for next week. Like I said, assuming I should be done, but assuming I am able to get it finished by next week. And so, but yeah, that is what I have been up to. Hit us up. Let us know what you have been up to, what you're watching, playing, listening to, reading, all of those things. And if you're watching live, you can do that in the chat, or if you're watching later, do that in the YouTube comments. And then our Discord, of course, is always open for people to come and hang out. I just like brain farted on the name of the app. I could not remember the name of Discord for a moment. And then, because with all of that, let's jump into our topics of the week. What do you got for us, Emma?
I've got something. Indeed. Indeed. And that something is that they announced this week that we're getting a Spaceballs 2, which feels like a very iconic first movie. And it's just fun that we're getting a second one. Total nerd geek movie. And this was something we were talking about a lot in the Discord, but it deserves an honorable mention here. And we've also learned that a lot of the original cast is also returning, which is great. I think I've
Yeah.
only seen this movie like once, and it was years ago. But from what I've heard, it's not Spaceballs without the original cast. So
It's a very iconic cast.
yeah, um, and it just seems fun because it's essentially just a Star Wars spoof, and it's Mel Brooks, so you can't really complain because it's Mel Brooks. Um, and yeah, that's I don't really have much to say beyond. We love a good nerd culture movie coming back in the
Mhm.
form of a second movie, and yeah, we're also getting Lewis Pullman, who's Bill Pullman's son, joining the cast, which is great. Um, and yeah, that's all I've really got on that. Just wanted people to know that Spaceballs 2 is coming. Um,
I'm
yeah,
super excited for this. And so
yeah,
I have seen OG Spaceballs several times. And I really like it. In the world of like spoof movies, it's definitely like the top end in terms
yeah,
of like its quality of like understanding the source material and then making fun of it. And
yeah.
so
I
I'm
always mix it
definitely
up.
looking. Yeah.
I always mix it up
And
with the
like,
Alan Rickman Star Trek one.
mm, um, Galaxy Quest.
Yeah,
And so I so yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited for what this is gonna mean in the like post, like, I mean, really post every Star Wars movie except for Star Wars. Like, Spaceballs is basically A New Hope, and then there has been the whole rest of Star Wars after that that we have not had like there's been other like parodies like the Family Guy parodies and stuff like that, but like we have not specifically seen Spaceballs take on like the prequels or like pod racing or like
yeah.
are you gonna make fun of like some of the like weird CGI or like costume choices?
Please.
Like, are you gonna make fun of the like Star Killer base or like stuff like that? Of like there's so many jokes that like I mean have been made about Star Wars, but like there are so many options that this movie has available to it, and I'm very excited to see what they're going to do and how
Yeah,
they're going to be like irreverent both to the fact that this is a sequel 40 years after the first film and then also like to
yeah.
Star Wars itself in the like 40 years or like 50 years of Star Wars that we have had since the first movie.
And I would like to note that it is literally described as a non prequel, non reboot, sequel, part two, both reboot elements, franchise expansion film. Plot TBA.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Like
Yeah,
I'm super excited. It's like I mean it's definitely a cult classic. I was curious, like I'm always curious for like older movies about like what their box office was. And so this had a budget of 25.5 million and then a box office of 40 million. So
fabulous.
yeah, great for like, and this is 1987. So like, this is definitely like a classic film in that regard. And so I'm like stuff like that. I'm always curious about just because like, I feel like now I have like a pretty good understanding of like not that I could like say this is how much this movie made, but
Hmm.
like I could ballpark like if you gave me three movies, I could ballpark which ones I think did better in the
Yeah,
box office.
yeah,
But obviously don't have that perception for movies from before I was alive. And so
yeah.
uh
It's
and
a
so
fun guessing
I'm
game, though. That kind of thing. Of
yeah.
just like that. But yeah, it's fun and it's exciting. I love cheesy, intentionally like parody movies like this that get the love that they deserve and then also get on top of that like sequels or whatever that are like
Yeah.
still continuing on that humorous trend of like yeah, we know we've, culturally got these huge, super serious franchises like, Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel, that where the worlds themselves, take themselves super seriously. So we're just gonna come over here and make a parody where it's very unserious. So it's fun and it's exciting, and that's what I've got.
Yeah, definitely recommend the first one again, just to kind of go back to that. Does it have the plot of the Marvels? Yes. Like insanely predicts the like literally the Marvels takes its plot, which is really funny. But definitely recommend people go and check that out. And then for our second piece of news, we got the announcement today that there has been a shakeup to the DCU with a title change to Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow that is now going to be titled just Supergirl. And so this doesn't necessarily change a lot for us as fans, but it is super interesting. And one of the reasons I wanted to call it out is because it was revealed by James Gunn why this change took place. And I gotta say, I'm pretty hyped about this reason. And so this also ties in for why the Superman movie is titled Superman, whereas it was announced with Superman Legacy. It's the exact same process and exact same reason, which is super cool. And that reason is because James Gunn does a pre-mortem with the creative group behind his films. And so this is where they attempt to preempt issues that might cause the film to flop before it starts shooting. Emphasis on before. It's like if you have a plan for the film ahead of time, you can do stuff like this.
Wow, imagine that.
Crazy. And so James Gunn says, I believe this is to Rolling Stone. I'm reading from IGN, but James Gunn says, I'm always cutting. Legacy was really, we do something called a pre-mortem. A pre-mortem is where you get together your group that's doing a project. It's usually a couple months before shooting, and you go, hypothetically, if it's an epic disaster, what are the things that we're doing today that are going to cause it to be an epic disaster? Everyone here can speak freely. The things you find on other productions are the things that people are whispering. Oh God, I don't know why they cast that actor. He doesn't fit the role. Or the production designer's never on time. One of the things that I brought up was, it was called Superman Legacy. Even though I was the one who gave it that title, I just wasn't sure. First of all, I'm sick of superhero title, other name thing. And then also, it seemed to look back when we're looking forward, even though it does have to do with the legacy in the movie itself. And everyone was like, oh yeah, no, change it. And so I'm excited for this. Again, I don't necessarily think as a fan, and we of course still don't know what to make of the DCU. Superman comes out next month. And then Supergirl will release in June of next year. So this is still very far out, but like I was saying, and I definitely am interested in your take on this as an insider side of things. Not insider into this film, just to clarify for people. Though we would like for her to be James Gunn.
Even if it were, I couldn't say because of NDAs.
Yes.
I will say that.
Yeah. And so I'm curious about this because I think that this is something that's super cool. As much as I have loved Marvel, a very valid criticism of Marvel is that they tend to start shooting without scripts and they are finishing things as they go. And I cannot imagine what that's like for people on set, but there have been a whole lot of movies and shows like Gestures Broadly at Secret Invasion that have had to have massive rewrites and stuff like that and reshoots because scripts were not done when the filming began. And so this is something that, again, as an outsider, makes me really excited because it continues to hammer home James Gunn. We have a script. We have a plan. We will not film movies until those are done. So what do you think?
Yeah, no. Jason Gunn is really smart to really hammer in and stick to that more traditional system of, you know, producing a movie, basically. Um, because really, studios these days are going for more so quantity than quality. Um, in terms of just how many they can put out on top of how much money can they save putting things out, um, which is where we see most things doing terribly, is because they're not actually spending the time and effort and energy in making those movies good. And
Mm-hmm.
literally one of the biggest lessons anyone learns in film industry is that the most important part of the entire process is pre-production. When the script is getting written, when you're casting people, when you're hiring your crew, when you're doing all of these things that um, really lead up to the filming process, how much work you put into the pre-production process sets the tone for the rest of the project and what the final product looks like. So he's really smart to lean into um, that pre-production side of things on top of, like, while working in pre-production, getting crew together and people and sitting down and going, okay, like, what are the things that we think other people are like kind of judging us on right now in
Mm-hmm.
the pre-production process. Because the thing is, the film industry is small and people talk a lot and
Yeah.
people know things. Even with NDAs, it's a small world. Your random, craft snack person who has eyes and ears on your set is going to go to their fun craft snack buddy on this other set and go, "You won't believe what I just saw on the set of Superman today,"
Mm-hmm.
because people are going to talk around the snack table. Um, it's the snack table. Um, they're gonna sit there
Every
with their
office has a
Welch's
water cooler.
fruit gummies.
It might not be a literal water cooler, but every office has a water
and
cooler.
their little bottle of water that has their name written on it in Sharpie, and go, yeah, so our lead showed up 30 minutes late and the script isn't even finished yet. And then that snack person is going to go to their snack friend and go, guess what I heard on the set of Superman today? The script isn't even finished and they're already filming things. And then that word is going to spread around the craft people, and then it's going to break the containment of the snack crafty universe.
Yeah.
And spread into other people because it's a small world.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really very smart to, like, taking into consideration the fact that people are going to talk, and what are the things on this project that people are going to talk about, and, like, is that going to be a flaw in this project that's going to hinder us long term, or is it just regular onset drama that's the same thing that you're going to find at a summer camp in rural Minnesota? Like, because there's also that kind of drama on any movie set. It's the same, every movie set has the same drama that a summer camp is going to have, that a college campus is going to have, that XYZ is going to have, because it's a whole bunch of stressed out people contained together for long hours and things. But then there are also the flaws of the studio trying to rush the project and make it happen in a shorter period than they actually need. And so he's very smart in, like, trying to figure out what those issues are ahead of time so that they can, like, work and to smooth them out and, like, actually fix those problems before they arise. So hopefully that actually shows up and shows out in the quality of these projects going forward.
Yeah. And yeah, like I was saying, like, and this builds off what you just ended with. Like, we can't judge these yet because we don't know. But like, if you look at the Guardians movies, like if you look at like the Suicide Squad, you see a lot.
That
of,
was
like,
one that needed work on the title.
Yeah, you do get to see a lot of these other, like, projects that Gunn has been on, and I think that that's one of the reasons that someone like me, who is not a Superman fan, is really excited about this movie. And I like this idea of him taking over as this, like, as the Kevin Feige of DC, and like he's saying more things that I like, I guess is the way to get that, of like, this makes me excited. And we already know from Superman stuff that like Gunn is not inflexible. Like, it's not like this is something where the script is done and that means that it has to be exactly like this. Like, we know that the person who's playing Superman like went up against Gunn for Superman's outfit and won. Like he wanted the underoos on the outside of the costume, and that was not something that Gunn had initially wanted. And like the actor laid his case for why, and then that's what happened. Like, that's what we're getting. And so I really like this. And again, to what your point is, I really hope we see this carry over into both the quality, but also the like box office success of this movie. Like I have said for a long time, there is no superhero fatigue. There's just bad or mediocre movie fatigue. And so if we can get excited about something, like, let's do it, I'm in. And so I really hope that we see a lot of success for Superman. And I hope, I have picked up one of the comics that this is based off of, but I haven't read it yet. It's on my to read. And so I'm very excited to dive in and hopefully become a fan of Superman through this version of the character. But again, chat, let us know. I'm very interested to hear other opinions besides our own on this. So let us know, what do you think of the pre-mortem process? What do you think of the title change? Are you excited that it's going to be more straightforward, or are you sad that we're losing a little bit more of the context in the title? And let's go on to our final topic. We got a big shakeup in the TTRPG world with the announcement today that Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford are joining Darrington Press. And
is real.
Yeah, this is, I feel like this is something that, like, for people that are not plugged in to the TTRPG space, like, doesn't mean a lot. But for people that like pay attention to that side of things, like, this is something that is both super exciting, like, and a super huge, like, again, shake up to like the foundation of the TTRPG industry. And so in a blog post today, Darrington Press shared, "Exciting news, our Darrington Press team has grown, adding Chris Perkins as our creative director and Jeremy Crawford as game designer. We're thrilled to welcome both Chris and Jeremy's expertise in game design and storytelling, honed through decades of experience working together on tabletop games such as Dungeons and Dragons," you might have heard of it, Star Wars role-playing, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and Blue Rose. We're enormous fans of their work and are honored to welcome them to our team. That goes on, and there's more in the blog post. We might reference some of the specifics later on.
Yeah.
But as I emphasized my own in that statement, for people that don't know, Chris Perkins is a 28-year veteran of Wizards of the Coast. He announced early April of this year that he was retiring from Wizards of the Coast after those 28 years. And then while he has, of course, worked on many things over that time, he was the senior story editor for D&D 5e, and then the game architect for D&D 2024. And then Jeremy Crawford announced that he was leaving Wizards of the Coast in April of this year. And he was the game director of Dungeons and Dragons, and was at Wizards for 18 years. And so this is a huge shakeup. There was, from everything that we understand, they left Wizards of the Coast willingly. Like, this was not a, like, your project's done, you're fired. This was, our project's done, it's time to, like, step away. And this is, like, crazy to be getting, like, such experienced people brought in. And I am super curious to what they're going to be doing. Like, in terms of, like, not just a, like, what would you say you do kind of way, but, like, in terms of, like, what does it look like when you take creatives that have been in a relatively tight corporate structure and say, hey, you're now, like, arguably, like, the number, like, 3 and 4 people when it comes to this whole company. Like, this is now, like, your show. Like, what do you want to do?
As I called it, literally, I was messaging a couple of friends about it. It is a huge power move on the part of Chris and Jeremy to leave Wizards of the Coast willingly and then go get jobs at their biggest competitor, which is Critical Role. As someone who exists entirely on the production side of entertainment, granted, film and TV, but also as a huge TTRPG nerd, like, we saw in 2023 all of the OGL fiascos. And it is a commonly stated theory, and one that I firmly believe in, that a lot of that happened because Critical Role exists, and because Critical Role is the biggest competitor for content to Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro didn't like that. So this whole move, I think personally, was a big power move on their part to be like, we don't like the way you're running this company in terms of this thing we love so much, so we're going to go over to the people who are actually passionate about this kind of thing. So
yeah, and like I said, I'm super interested in what this is going to mean. I hope they do not work on Daggerheart, like, just like as a broad statement. I would love for them to work on, like, obviously TTRPG space, but like I like a lot of what the Daggerheart team has already done. I still need to get the rule book and take a look through the actual rules, not just the playtest rules, but like I think that team has done well, and generally speaking, I feel like Daggerheart has been received very well. And so I hope that game gets to kind of keep doing their own thing. But as people that have spent almost 40 years, I guess over 40 years, 46 years collectively working on Dungeons and Dragons, like, and of course there are different genres of campaigns and stuff like that, but like, what does a sci-fi TTRPG look like from these people? Or like, what does a sci-fi skin for Daggerheart look like with these two guys as very like some generic. Of the creative leads? Like what are, when they creatively have been so focused on this specific thing for so long, I'm just like super interested of like not generic in a bad way, but like non-generic fantasy game. What does your creativity look like here? And I'm super interested in what that could mean.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see what they come up with.
Yeah. I would anticipate that we will not find anything out for like a year and a half to 2 years. Like, obviously they'll be working on whatever like the current projects are. I would assume that we'll see them as people that worked on like whatever the first big update to Daggerheart is going to be. Like, we'll see their contributions there, but like, that's not going to be something that they're building from scratch. And so I'm very curious. And like, I don't know, have you ever played like the Darrington Press board games or card games and stuff? Have you played any of those?
I haven't had the chance to yet.
I haven't either. And so that's another thing that like I would be curious on, of like, again, like, what was your weird like idea for a D&D mini game that just never worked out? Cause like there are like Three Dragon Ante is like a physical card game, And so like, and that's a game that exists in D&D. And so like, what does it look like to put these guys in charge of just like make up a game?
Yeah.
Like here, you know, like obviously there will be design constraints and stuff like that, but like, what does it look like for if they created a tabletop like miniatures game based on Critical Role?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. I'm just super curious and like excited about the possibilities there, let alone the fact that like, I'll say as someone who like broadly speaking is down on D&D 2024, not necessarily because of the game itself, but because of the very obvious reasons it's happening. I am like super excited to see like, what does it look like to work when you don't have the, you have to do this or else kind of mentality of D&D 2024. So I'm very curious to like what that is going to be. And I'm, like I said, I hope that they get to do something completely different, at least thematically, from what they've worked on for a while. But any other thoughts on your end?
I'm just excited to see what they'll come up with in that setting of like Critical Role and a different like D&D has been the powerhouse of TTRPGs for however many years now.
And basically the whole time, right? Like
yeah, basically the whole time. Close second being Pathfinder. And of course Critical Role as essentially an extension of D&D and being like really their biggest threat, so to speak, for on a company side of things. Like now they're in a space where they're more flexible with the kind of material that they can come out with, because they can come out with both, you know, 5e 2024 content and new system content. New system being not Daggerheart. That's the name of it. Okay. Like they have a bit more flexibility because Critical Role and Darrington Press are much more focused on like actual quality of content rather than quantity of content. Like there's a lot more passion in like the kind of stuff that they do actually put out. I'm really just curious to see what they do in that kind of setting over Wizards of the Coast type of situation. So yeah.
Yeah, chat, hit us up, let you know. What do you think? What do you hope they do? If they go non-fantasy, what do you want it to be? If they go fantasy, what do you hope they bring to the Daggerheart side of the house? Saying that reminds me, what I would really like, and I feel like they've referenced this already. I would like, they have the like story frames or whatever for Daggerheart. The like basically like setting descriptions that you can plug your games in, that we have like the Age of Umbra one that's going on right now. That's one of the examples of the like much darker take on the world versus a lot of it is like bright and colorful. I would love for us to get a like collection of like short stories that are those like story frames of like a supplemental book. And so like get us again, I don't know how long the frames are in the actual book, so I'm just spitballing, but like get us like a 100-page book that is like 25 short stories that are these frames. And I would love to see, like, obviously not just these people, but like get like everyone on the Critical Role cast gets one. And then like all the designers behind the scenes get one. And it's like, what does it look like when you give like all of these people 5 pages, no more, set up your world? What does it look like? What are the rules? What's the distinctions? Like, I'd be super interested to see something like that. And like, And like, I feel like they've referenced a project kind of like that before, whether it's like a physical thing or something that they would put out just like on their site. I don't remember, but I feel like they have talked about that in some of their Daggerheart content. But that'd be something that like I would love to see. Like, that's also an easy way of bringing in other designers of like, let's get the Gloomhaven, Frosthaven people to do one and talk about like, what does it look like to bring that into the world? Great crossover potential there. And so, but yeah, that's what we got for news for this week. One announcement that we have is on June 30th, we will be returning for a book club with The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Long. And so excited for that. Excited to have book club back. I do know that Shanine is also reading Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. And so hopefully at some point we'll be able to get her on and do some sort of discussion around the book. I don't know if it would be like an official book club type thing or just like a conversational chat. But that is hopefully something that we'll be able to do as well. And then I also need to look, but I feel like we're close to doing another book club tier list if we haven't already passed 10 books. And so I need to look and figure out where we are on that. We'll do that in the post-show chat. But all that said, thank you everybody for joining us for today. As I said at the top of the show, you can find us as One Geek 411 around the internet, including our Discord server. You can shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can find us on Redbubble, and then you can watch live on Twitch and YouTube, and then find the videos and VODs, all that, over on our YouTube. You can also find us on our personal social media. Mine is Humar Whittle.
Mine is I am not prepared with an I in the prepared.
And it's been a great week.
Go outside.
Roll some dice.